This is the HeadRush Podcast with Paul Fraze and Corey Berry.
Welcome to the HeadRush Podcast. I'm Paul Fraze, and I played 11 years in the NFL.
And one Super Bowl.
And one Super Bowl. You keep bringing that up, and it's pouring salt in the wound. It took me 10 years to get to a Super Bowl, and we lost.
How many players can say they played in the Super Bowl?
Probably, I don't know, 5,000, 3,000, 3,500. It's not many.
Well, how many people on each team?
There's 53 active.
So only 106 a year get to play in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Why not just throw it in there that you played in the Super Bowl?
I was in a Super Bowl. Thank you, Corey. Thank you for those accolades. You know what? It is special. It was a special time in my life. So, all right. So, our co-host Corey Berry rode professional rodeo for 9 years.
So, never made the Super Bowl.
Well, what is the Super Bowl of rodeo?
National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas in December.
And they say only how many cowboys get to go to that each year?
Top 15 in each event.
The top 15 in each event. So, and how high did you get in your event?
Depending on what year. But it was never top 15.
Well, was it close?
1 year, no.
Well, he's being humble. All right. At the HeadRush Podcast, we talk about everything related to brain trauma and brain health and wellness. We talk about traumatic brain injury, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, TES, which is traumatic encephalopathy syndrome. It's the closest you can get diagnosed while you're alive to CTE. And we talk about repeated head impacts, RHI. We cover how traumatic brain injuries can and will cause mental health issues such as depression, addiction, lack of executive function, memory loss, even suicide ideation, as well as degenerative neurological issues. These symptoms can be found on the Mayo Clinic and Boston University websites under symptoms of CTE. And our mantra is how to cope and find hope. We focus our energy on finding therapies and sharing hope through education and by raising awareness. And this episode is actually a huge episode when we're talking about finding therapies. And please like and subscribe and share the HeadRush Podcast. That helps us bring awareness to people. This is a topic that affects probably 3.5 million people each year, annually, in the United States, I would say. And
more than that.
Well, and our guest, maybe we'll ask him to comment on that and guide us on that.
Yes. And so today our guest we met him in Tampa, Florida. Trip Harlan's the CEO and founder of the Biooptimization Institute. Trip is a brain and body optimization specialist and focuses on CTE and concussion recovery, neural performance, regenerative medicine, and exosomes. Did I say that right?
Exosomes, yes.
At the Biooptimization Institute, their mission is to lead the health revolution by integrating advanced biohacking technology, empowering individuals to transcend conventional limits, and unlocking supreme physical and mental well-being. Thank you, and welcome, Trip, to the HeadRush Podcast.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Trip, where were you when I was playing football? I could have used your services.
He wasn't born yet.
Well, no, you're. I'm old, but I'm not that old, am I? Trip, yeah. So we got to meet you at the Mac Parkman Foundation, the Summit for Repeated Head Impacts. It was a national summit.
International,
the first ever, right? I believe. I'm going to get right to what you do at the Bio Optimization Institute, Trip. You focus on 4 types of treatments or modalities, and we're huge on figuring out what we can do to help our brain health, because we've taken a lot of hits, and you're very familiar with athletes. In our case, we're athletes. I know you work with other people that outside of athletics that have had brain trauma and concussions. But tell us, you focus on 4 types of modalities. 1, you focus on something called high altitude intermittent hypoxic training. And I'm used to HBOT, hyperbaric chamber, where they force us our bodies to absorb more oxygen. Talk to us about this high altitude intermittent hypoxic training.
Well, doesn't that lower the blood flow?
Lower the oxygen, right? You've got to teach us. Talk to us, Trip.
When you typically think of oxygen therapy, like you said, you think of EWAT, hyperbaric chambers. That's the type of stuff that's recovery style oxygen. But actually, the science and studies behind breathing high altitude oxygen, the opposite, won a Nobel Prize in 2019, how the body and cells adapt and react to breathing that high altitude oxygen. So when you're in a hyperbaric chamber, a lot of people are just coming off the street, say you're just like a couch potato trying to come in. Your body and cells can't absorb oxygen as efficiently as it wants to. You have to create a demand. You got to get the blood flowing for everything to work, more efficiently. So what we do with the high altitude oxygen, we drop it instead of breathing the 90% recovery. Typically day by day, we're breathing 21% in the earth and our environment, but then we drop it down between 8% and 14%, simulating the top of, say Pikes Peak, Colorado. And in so many different cultures, the Shaolin monks, even our Olympians, they train on top of the mountain to create that demand, not only cardiovascularly, which of course by limiting the oxygen, you're going to improve the cardiovascular, but it's also what's going on a cellular level. It's detoxing your blood, alkalining it. It's increasing red blood cells. And a big part of that is it's creating an oxygen demand in your tissue, your body's tissue, and also brain tissue as well. And that's where we create a demand by dropping the body into hypoxia, which is typically between 92% or below. And when that body gets into hypoxia, it starts to go through a fight or flight. And all of a sudden, the body's like, all hands on deck. We got to increase red blood cells. And really, most importantly, was create that oxygen demand in the tissue. And we do that by doing specific breath work. And really, a lot of people hear about the Wim Hof style breathing. That's a little bit quicker, more holotropic. You're increasing oxygen levels. We want to do the opposite. We want to slow the breaths per minute down. We want to increase the carbon dioxide in the body, reduce the oxygen, and get the body used to performing underneath that stress. And also the chemistry that happens in the body, like I said, that's where the Nobel Prize science is behind all that, making the body produce more red blood cells and really pulling in that oxygen to the tissue that it wouldn't have before. And just to finalize everything that this does, not only is it that, but also the athletic performance behind things as well. You're literally creating EPO or erythropoietin, and that's what Lance Armstrong used synthetically and unnaturally to win and perform at his highest and best athletic performance in the Tour de France. 4 minutes or so, plus or minus, by breathing high altitude oxygen, we're literally able to stimulate the EPO in the body and create the athletic performance that athletes are really looking for.
So to Corey's statement of are you actually lowering the oxygen flow in order to actually make the body crave oxygen, and then the oxygen flow actually improves? Is that it?
So I'll explain it a little bit better. So we're utilizing 2 reservoirs of oxygen. We got the 90% reservoir, and then we have, say, the 10% reservoir. We're able to contrast between the two levels of oxygen. We breathe, the 10%, 8% mountain air. We create that demand, and then once it's ready, then we contrast it with the 90%. We recover, we get our oxygen levels back up to 100%, 99%. We shake it off, and then we go back down and we do it again. Specific breath work, a little bit of cardio output with like a recumbent bike, something very comfortable. And mostly this entire experience is very relaxed. With the athletic performance side of things, we can start to push it and really take it to another level. But the whole goal of this is not only to improve yourself on that physical level and heal, but it's also on the emotional level, on the psychological. Like, that's what happens when our brain shuts down through all the injuries. We need to turn that electricity, that energy back on in the body, get the voltage flowing through the brain. And through this process, that's what we're doing.
Wow. So on your website, I see a gentleman on a bike wearing a mask, right? So you're saying it's actually a gentle process. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Give me more oxygen. Or I'm breathing like the Wim Hof. You the fast breathing, and you got to get to an alkaline state and all that stuff. But you're talking about actually just lowering and increasing the oxygen level. Okay.
And then trying to keep them into that relaxed parasympathetic nervous state. And what's unique about this in all my experience, and I've worked with athletes, I've worked with, elderly people, and this is a psychological thing too. It's like getting in the cold plunge and you're feeling that stress, that agitation on the body. How can you be comfortable while being uncomfortable? So a lot of times these young athletes who are in the prime of their lives are utilizing the oxygen. And when they're breathing the high altitude, they're going into that panic mode. They don't know how to stay calm under that stress, and it can be something. And so that's what's important too. We're working on the emotional, psychological trauma side of things, because that can really be brought up in this breathlessness feeling. And for them to rediscover that, to challenge that, and then to overcome it with sessions is an amazing thing to see. And on that point, even so, these athletes, they could struggle with the high altitude, even though they're in the great peak, physical shape. But then someone, say in their 70s, can do it. And just because they are comfortable, and they're, with the extra breathing and the high altitude, a lot of times those people who aren't in that physical shape are so much more comfortable with it, and they go through it much easier. So like I said, it's a physical thing, but like the reason we are working with so many high level people is because of the emotional recovery and release as well through the breath and the breathing.
Wow. And your second is pulse electromagnetic field therapy. Talk to us. Is that TMS or what is this? Talk to us a little bit about it.
So PEMF is a very unique form of recovery and stimulation. So what it's doing is it's sending a magnetic frequency through copper wiring, and it's sending that frequency into the body, and it's helping not only blood flow, recovery, cellular regeneration, but it's also able to tap into the effects of grounding with the earth and harmonizing. So a big part of what we're doing is, even before we get into the oxygen, which is typically our second step, we're starting our clients or patients off with the PEMF or PEMA molecular activation to not only stimulate their cellular reproduction to get them going, but also to get them to accept the oxygen more efficiently.
If you've been told it's all in your head, but deep down you know something is wrong, listen closely. Brain fog, depression, anxiety, irritability, even PTSD. These are not just mental issues. They may be signals of neuroinflammation and hormonal disruption, root causes that traditional medicine often ignores. At the Millennium Health Centers, founded by Dr. Mark Gordon, they have helped veterans, athletes, and everyday people restore brain function using a medical process called the Millennium Protocol. Take their free brain health assessment at tbihelpnow.org and discover if inflammation, not weakness, is holding you back. You're not broken, you're unbalanced, and balance can be restored. Does that have anything to do with, you're talking about at a cellular level, does that have anything to do with mitochondria or the...
That's exactly what it's doing.
Oh.
So the whole goal of what we're doing is through external stressors, food, medicine, toxins, we've dulled down our natural charge. The human body's a battery, and we need to charge that mitochondria in the cells. So from what we're doing step by step, we're going through and we're basically recharging the human battery.
Great. All right. Well, when can we get on it?
And I know the third, and this is interesting. I'm really interested on your third modality because we talked to a photobiomodulation company, Violite or something like that, wasn't it, that we spoke with?
I think, the one gentleman was up in Canada, and it's been a long time. We've known each other almost over a year.
Over a year now.
I think we had that conversation 10 months ago.
Was it 10 months ago?
You're taxing my memory. So
we tax each other all the time. So on the red light therapy, and the best thing to do is just have you explain it once again. What does that do?
Once again, our body is a battery, and our goal is to charge it. And we're using all the different unique ways to do it: energy, frequency, vibration. And so with the red light therapy or photobiomodulation, we're tapping into that light frequency. And a lot of times you need to have it close to the skin to help penetrate the epidermis, the help with skin, hair, getting down into the cellular of the body. But a unique thing of what we utilize is we get into the frequencies of 10, 20, and 40 hertz with the light. It's almost like a strobe projection. And what it's doing is, especially the 40 hertz, it's sending a strobe frequency, light frequency, into the eyes, into the brain. And really what it's doing is helping to reduce the inflammation and plaque buildup on the brain.
That's exactly what I was gonna ask about. And is it sometimes called a cold laser? Is that something different, or?
There's a lot of different technologies, and especially something like that, terming the terminology as a laser, that can be more specific and almost more like a scalpel going in for specific, issues. With this light that we're using, kind of a broad spectrum, there's other ways to utilize it with different visors and masks that you can wear. So this is something in different ways that's helping to really calm the brain down and rewire the subconscious neurologically.
What so talk to us more about, you said you mentioned inflammation. We're big on inflammation. We know the Millennium Protocol is big on inflammation. I watched Quiet Explosions a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and
heck, you probably watched it 6 months ago.
Well, I've watched it about 8 times, so yeah. but in all, if you will, go back and kind of concentrate on, okay, do you use it for concussions? Do you use the high altitude hypoxic training for concussions or repeated head impacts? Talk to us a little bit how you use those modalities.
Okay. And I can, with this, I'm starting to share more of like our business model and what we do. So with what we do, we're a group of coaches and consultants who find the best healing equipment, tools, technologies, and create very specific protocols for the different clientele that we're working with. So that's everything. Go ahead.
So let's do this. It sounds like we need to go to number 4, the micro impact vibration platform technology, and then we got to get into exactly what you were talking about, the programs you do.
Now, is this the Sheila Thean thing?
No, she's one of our advanced modalities that we've added on recently that has just almost changed in the game. So once I share about the micro impact, then I'll start to get into the vestibular training, and I'll share that right now. So before I was talking about the Nikola Tesla type term, energy, frequency, vibration. Through the breath, we're creating the energy. The frequency, we have the PEMF in the photobiomodulation red light. And now we're getting into one of my favorite technologies is the micro impact. And what makes this different than typical vibration plates is how gentle and strategic it is. Most shake plates are way too aggressive for the soft tissue, brain tissue, and even the bones as well. Getting in the micro impacts and just stating this out there could be in the next year or so a lot of class action suits against a lot of these old shake plate companies for being too aggressive, and especially people like ourselves with brain injuries, trauma. When you get on there and you're shaking the brain around like that, it takes you back to the way you were feeling during the football hits or the trauma you had in the military. So with the micro impact, we're very strategic on how we're sending that frequency into the body, and it's helping on 3 different things. The first one, it's actually strengthening and making the bones more dense. And the second thing is also malleability. It's making them flexible. So we're actually strengthening and making the bones more dense and flexible. The second thing is the metabolic system inside of our bones. We think of them as just our structure, but that's actually so much is going on inside. It's where our red blood cells are created, white blood cells, our immune system. So we don't want to be sending agitating vibration inside the bone. We want to send that healing frequency resonance right in there. And then the third thing is also stimulating your steps per day, getting your 20, 30,000 steps. So, you're getting that good relief on the spine and the body. So I could keep going on about the micro impact plate, but that's where that's tying into that Nikola Tesla energy, frequency, vibration. And then once we get the body primed, we've used the PEMF to get the cells flowing, the oxygen to increase the energy, the vibration to move everything and activate. Then we get into the vestibular where we're spinning, rewiring the subconscious, getting into the vestibular system, the ear, all the crystals going on inside, everything from concussions, the dullness from anesthesia, post-surgeries. We're finding when you're spinning the body even very, very slow, that it is just turning that electricity on like you can't even imagine.
Yeah, Sheila tried getting me on that I call it the Zoom doom. Because if I got on it, it was Zoom and I'd be doomed. But it tried to get me on it, and I'm like, no, ain't happening.
Well, why? Why?
Because it's like what he just suggested. That's something you got to work up to. Right now, she had me just spin around real slow, right, honey, in the lobby at the hotel. And my eyes went, woo. And that was me just spinning myself. And putting me on that plate, ooh, that's something you got to work up to. And I'm really interested in it. And I really want to try it. But I want to do it not at a conference where it's like, hey, get on, try out the new toy, to where you work it up and you do it properly. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I want to get Sheila on the podcast to talk about it more. But, I mean, you're using it as a 5th modality, so tell us about it.
Yeah, for one, Sheila Thielen's a rock star. Just everything I've learned from her about the vestibular system. But even for someone like myself with, years of concussions in the past, I'm still going very slow, working on just the little things as we're spinning, moving our eyes left and right, up and down, eventually bringing up a focal point, being able to follow that and to train the eyes and brain, and then eventually body and situational awareness, the head up and down, left and right. Once you go through a lot of those different neurological stimulations, you can feel kind of agitated towards the end. I stay very slow, but just like you said, it's important to be in a safe, comfortable, or a safe place where, say if you are feeling a little bit of the issues, afterwards, you can still step out, go get some sunlight, and be able to recover and not have to go back and entertain or, be at a conference where you're, needing to, be speaking and sociable.
So we had a guest on, Nate Pope, and he did some different modalities, but he did them all. He integrated them, and he was saying that it's better to integrate than to do. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. To do 1 on Monday, 2 on Friday, and 3 on the next Wednesday, and so on and so forth. I'm excited I'm anxious to hear about how you work with your clients, your particular clients, and with your team.
Yeah, because Nate does 6 to 8 hours a day for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a break at lunch, but while you're balancing, you're talking, you're doing a game, you're looking at cards, you're using different aspects. And that's where Nate says he's kind of the FX, cognitive FX, NCX, is what his company is. But it's the multi-vestibular therapy all at once. And I know you work more on oxygen and all of that. So tell us about, if I was to come to you, how would you treat me or Paul?
So each client is different that we're working with. And a big part of what we start off with is tailoring the protocol or the entire treatment for the individual person. And a big part of what we do is we start off with the blood work. And that's the whole point of the Institute, is we want to be able to show before, during, after tangible data. So we're starting off with the basic blood work, being able to go and show all the different markers, speak with our team of medical experts to review your blood work. Then we'd be able to recommend nutrition, supplements, regenerative medicine, detox. And, a detox is a huge part before we even start to shake the body up, to oxygenate, to start to move all these things through the body. We want to make sure the body's not full of parasites, heavy metals. We're taking care of gut health. So many different things that we want to establish, the baselines, so we can strategically deliver this protocol correctly. Once we establish that, then you would come in and we already know everything about you, what type of situation you're in, whether it's concussion, athletic performance, post-surgery, or even if you want to optimize your brain health. And, like a lot of people want to do in the executive world. So we're bringing in that cognitive enhancement. So once we figure out what you need, then it's a very strategic delivery system. Even at the very beginning with step 1, with the PEMF priming, we're speaking to you. We're making that delivery very tailored towards, like if you're an athlete, we would be more excited, getting you pumped up, getting you ready. Concussion, we're a lot calmer, more gentle with our delivery. So we take you through the first step, priming, then we'd move you over to the oxygenation. Next step is the activation. And then we have the ability to do the advanced modalities, vestibular training, hot and cold therapy, lymphatic drainage suits, or hands-on. And then we're obviously getting into a lot of the neurological stimulations, the different neuro boards that are out there for people to start to optimize. The whole goal is, once we get the chi, the prana energy, literally the blood flowing through the body, everything else from that point on just works that much better. Your body's charged, ready to go. So then with these advanced modalities, we can really start tapping into what they specifically need once we've turned the battery on and got the body charged up.
So in functional medicines, shall we say, sometimes there's modalities that, is it, what's the word I want to say? Not anecdotal, or is there peer-reviewed double-blind studies? Are there some studies that actually for each, obviously, I would say you said the high altitude intermittent hypoxic training got awards in 2019, one of the most prestigious awards a science can get. What kind of science backs these modalities up?
Well, that's what's great about being a consultant. I'm not creating anything from scratch. I'm not the engineer behind all this. I am the connector. So what I do is I find the best products, and I connect with the owners of these companies, the engineers, the scientists, the doctors who support everything. And then I'm able to utilize their skills, their history in the industry. And then there are, with each modality, all the different white paper studies that have been, created by all these outside industries up to this point. And that's what gives me and the Institute the credibility, the pre-existing credibility. What our goal is and what we are doing is taking all these different award-winning white paper studied pieces of equipment and technology and combining them together into not biohacking, where we're just, kind of going as, like making it up as we go, but very, very strategically and specifically. And I keep saying those words because it's true, putting them in the correct orders so that it is done efficiently. And a lot of times people only have an hour a day to get things done. So we want to make sure we're doing everything in the right order, where stacking them correctly, where you're getting the most efficient training, as far as the healing delivery, but then also time-wise, get you in and out and leaving, becoming the best version of yourself.
Millions live with depression, anxiety, fatigue, or emotional chaos, believing it's permanent. It's not. The Millennium Protocol targets hidden inflammation and hormone disruption caused by trauma, stress, and time. Created by Dr. Mark Gordon, featured multiple times on Joe Rogan and the HeadRush Podcast, plus the documentary movie Quiet Explosions, this approach has transformed lives once written off as hopeless. Visit tbihelpnow.org and take the 10-question brain health assessment. Healing is possible. Your story isn't over. Let's begin again with your brain.
How long is an average program? I mean, that's hard to tell because every client is different. Every injury is different. Every client has a different.
Well, it's like Samantha, my vestibular therapist, tells me it's a lifelong therapy with her that I'll probably never get out of it.
Mm. So you do you have maintenance programs, kind of like what you just described? Lifelong maintenance programs, trying to make the situation better. Do you have acute situations where you can, somebody is in therapy for 2 weeks, or I mean, I'm trivializing it by saying, when I twisted my ankle in college, I had the ultrasound in the morning and the ice after practice, and that was pretty simple. But what does it entail? What does a program entail, for a client?
Well, that's what's great about the data collection. We're able to tangibly see their progression. When we start off with them at the beginning, we're getting their goals, their limitations, everything that they want to do, and setting a specific timeline. And we let them know that if they do this and this and this, then we can take them in their recovery or their goal oriented situation that they're working towards. And typically it could take 12 months to get to that point. We can get them there in 8. And, this is that stuff when we really start to get specific with how we are delivering these different systems, it can work that much quicker. Me personally, my journey started me, once I started going with this process. The first time I did the high altitude oxygen, I immediately felt a difference. I was very dull. I couldn't speak well. I was having trouble communication from the years of concussions. I did my first session of IHT and I immediately felt the blood flow through the brain. The second session I did was a total change in everything. I literally felt the blood flow through my brain, pumping through my pineal gland, and kind of pumping through different dull parts of my brain like I had never felt before. And it was just the ultimate relief. Not only was I more clear in my speaking, the way I communicated, but also, and this gets a little almost like woo, but my connection with my higher power was better. Getting that blood flow, the energy, electricity, I was literally able to tap into that inner voice and felt more connected with myself and my spirituality.
You said the pineal gland. I literally was just talking about that. A friend of mine was talking about a tea from Mexico, tamarind. It's not tamarindo. It's tamar something. I didn't realize the pineal gland actually can calcify, or maybe is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Through through different medicines, especially what we're finding out through fluoride toothpaste. We're getting a lot of the calcification. It's almost like the soap scum that you would get on your shower, on the glass on your shower. That's what's accumulating in your pineal gland or third eye, and that's what all ancient cultures show gives you awareness, helps you think freely for yourself. So that's a big part of the trauma recovery. We see a lot of these athletes and military guys coming to us with the shark eyes, very dead, dull eyes. You don't see that spark. And when we go through this process, even just as something as basic as spinning around a couple times with the vestibular, not to mention when you stack everything else, oxygenation, we're seeing the light coming back into people's eyes almost immediately once you're getting that blood flow through the brain. And sometimes it doesn't happen, the first second or even 10 times. Just like anything in life, it takes repetition, being consistent. And so, yes, a session or two coming in town and working with us, even in like a retreat style for 3 to 5 days, is life-changing. But with anything else, it's the repetition that'll keep this going day to day. And that's with a lot of what we do in our business model. Not only are we upgrading businesses and programs, but we're also sharing this with individuals so they can not only heal themselves and their families, but then even offer themselves a business model where they don't have to go work for, say, the medical system or go work at a big gym anymore. They can get a handful of clients, run all these, different modalities through their house. And what we do is we train, certify, and give everyone the tools and the education to be able to offer that. So a big part of what we're doing is educating and duplicating.
So my next question is, Dave Chambly
Yes.
is on your staff, and he kind of grabbed our attention regarding breathing techniques. And we got a guy coming in next that is a Dr. Amen. Dr. Amen's not coming in, but one of the followers is Nick LeDuc, a saddle bronc rider and jiu-jitsu guy. And he's big into Dr. Amen, the Wim Hof, and what else? The 52 superfoods on the Amen Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the breathing techniques that David teaches.
So David is one of the top respiratory specialists in the world. He's basically my mentor in the business. Years and years ago, was the one that really connected me with the NFL and taught me a lot of the great science behind things. When you think about breathing, it's literally the most important thing we can do on the planet. the oxygen is the most important element. And so the way we breathe is so important. And it's not even when we're focusing in that real-time breath work, but we're also training the breath to subconsciously breathe better. Typically, day to day, we're breathing very shallow. We can always take that inhale, but we're only exhaling maybe halfway out, maybe not even. So we're shallow breathing. That's increasing our breaths per minute, and then also increasing our breaths for our lifetime. And it's not our chronological years that age us. It's the sand in the hourglass. Or it's not the sand in the hourglass. It's the stress we put on the body. So basically, the more we breathe, the faster and less efficient we breathe. That's the stress factor, and we are aging our bodies. So if we can start to train ourselves to breathe slower, more efficiently, and to utilize that not only when we're in an athletic position, performance, when we're in a state of stress, but also maybe just when we're doing something subconscious like sleeping, we will add that years to our lives because we're not stressing out the one most important thing. So there's everything from slowing the breath down, which is the very relaxed parasympathetic breathing, but then you can also get up into the more athletic, quicker style. And even so, I'm big on nasal breathing. And so what that's doing is building up carbon dioxide in the body and blood. But every once in a while, it's so important to exhale through the mouth. Big exhale. Oh, that's not only releasing the carbon dioxide that you built up, but it's a natural stress reliever. As you hear the vibration, it makes the breath more tangible. You can hear it with the sound. You can feel it with the vibration. And then to become aware of the breath, which is an invisible thing we really don't even know exists for most of our lives. It just happens to be there. We can actually tap into the tools and to get even stronger in our day to day, and even like just be aware of it, for maybe 5 minutes during a lunch break. We go through, do our specific breathing, maybe a little bit quicker and stronger to build up the oxygen, and then slow it down, get more into the empty lungs. And a big thing that I'd recommend for you guys and anyone who's listening is try to exhale all the way to empty lungs. Add the hum. We've probably never, ever really exhaled all the way down there. Hold it down there for a moment. Until you can't hold it any longer, you'll feel an urge, a rush. All of a sudden, that is where you're starting to move the red blood cells from the spleen, and that's your protective safety blood. And it's important to get that moving. If you're tired, you're stressed, do an empty lung hold and see how long you can hold it. If you hold it for 5 seconds, that's not very good. But if you're starting to get up there around 25, 30, 40 seconds, that's a good, what we call a Bolt score. And it's basically a breathing test to show what your lung efficiency is just by doing an empty lung hold.
That kind of reminds me, I probably did that all the time rodeoing when I got my wind knocked out.
Right.
Knocked out of me, and I couldn't breathe. But my wife tells me all the time to breathe because she'll look over at me and I'm not breathing at all.
I breathe shallow breaths, and I heard it once explained as every 5th breath, or maybe it was every couple minutes, you have a sigh breath. And you kind of take a more deeper breath. But I just tried to blow my, empty my lungs. And you said 5 seconds is not that good. I almost passed out just getting all the, the breath out of my lungs. So, man.
But you didn't do the hum.
No, I did not. I didn't want to interrupt, But
so I mean, that's your lung muscles, your diaphragm isn't used to flexing like that. And just a couple times a day doing that, and it'll strengthen really quickly.
One thing, I've had AFib for a long time, and a lot of NFL athletes, end up with AFib. This breathing, I am assuming, could help relax, help, the heart rate, possibly.
100%. That's what it's, because you're stressing the body out by breathing too many breaths per minute, and you're not efficiently breathing. You're working the system, but you're working the motor, but you're not pulling in anything to utilize. So it's just like you're wearing down the engine basically without having the right fuel in it.
Ain't that just awesome?
No, it sucks because I don't have a high test in my freaking tank. Lord. Okay.
Sounds like you need to go see Trip.
Trip and Dave.
Yeah, how do you get a hold of Trip and Dave?
Talk to us, please.
Stop. CTE.org proudly sponsors the HeadRush Podcast.
Karen and Doug Ziegel, they are founders. Karen founded the Patrick Grisha CTE Awareness Foundation, and they are one of the most comprehensive websites regarding repeated head impacts and chronic traumatic encephalopathy. They work with legislature. They've been doing this for about 10 years.
They're the grandparents of CTE in my book. So don't knock it. StopCTE.org.
Where are you guys located?
So my home base is in downtown St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh.
And I'm originally from Fort Myers, Florida. Moved up here. For a change, basically. I was a high school athlete, very high level, one of the fastest in the country. My senior year, ran a 4.36, but I didn't pursue an athletic career because of the concussions. And through the process, I went to college. The average, step by step, I was trying to walk on and play football, but I just couldn't do it. I'm 160 pounds natural, trying to be 190, and my neck and head just couldn't hang with those types of hits. But then that's where it progressed and got worse and worse. And I definitely want to share this because I can be relatable to a lot of people out there. Through the concussions and the CTE, I started self-medicating with alcohol. And it was the only thing I couldn't beat in my life. Like I was very successful in everything, but I was trying really hard to stop, and I just couldn't do it. And that's what got me into the business and the life that I'm doing now. And moving up to downtown St. Petersburg was a great change for me. It got me out of the residential living, put me in a city where I could ride my bike to places, a lot of sober things to do on the weekends, even going out on a Friday, Saturday night and having a community that was supportive of a cleaner lifestyle. And just being out in Florida, being by the water on Tampa Bay, it was a perfect progression into the new world. So I'm in downtown St. Petersburg right now. This is our home base where we have the Biooptimization Institute. A business model of ours is up-leveling existing practices. So in the past, when I didn't have the money for specific overhead, I would go into existing practices and up-level them, bring in the protocols, share with them the oxygen, the technology, be able to work through them and then move on. So I did that in a couple locations in Fort Lauderdale, Sarasota. We have more of a med spa regenerative medicine facility in Tampa where we do the blood work, the exosomes, the peptides. But then our actual physical base where we do all the testing, the data, and really bring the military and athletes are in downtown St. Pete.
And how far is that from you?
3.5 hours. I mean, that's. I was just at the what is the stadium? Raymond James for the Patriots Tampa game. It's about 40 minutes from you, probably.
The stadium's just about 25.
Yeah.
It's a quick interstate. The airport's right there. The stadium's there, so it's pretty easy to get people flying in from the airport and coming over and spending some time with us. And it's like a lot of people can come in for the day, but we also have retreat models where we'll utilize Airbnbs and set up all the equipment in the locations and be able to start from beginning to end. Everything from the physical training to the spiritual sound healing, a lot of just the down regulating of the nervous system. And a lot of it's just getting them away from their day to day. Like, we all love what we do for a living, our families, but sometimes that can be hard. So to have a little reset for a couple days to do all this stuff can be life-changing for people.
Do you do the woo-woo stuff like sound bowls and 963 megahertz and all that fun stuff?
Part of my journey, and maybe we can talk about this another time, but yoga was the first big breakthrough for me. Getting in with the community, beautiful, healthy people, nutrition, diet, and then obviously it taught me about the power of the breath and breathing. The term in yoga, there is no practice without the breath. But then it actually took me down a road into the plant medicine field. About 12, 13 years ago, got into a handful of ayahuasca ceremonies and working with the indigenous cultures, from Colombia, the shamans. And so, yes, for a handful of years, I was very spiritual, tapping into that side of things. But now I realize there's definitely a balance to it. So I'm able to utilize my warrior, my athleticism from back in the day, my spirituality from my experiences recovering and cleaning up my body, turning the electricity on with these powerful medicines, but then balancing that and still being able to speak with professionals like yourselves, but then also talk with the deeper spiritual side of things and be able to relate and share very well.
That's great. Well. When I say woo-woo, I say it endearingly, believe me. So
my question is I'm a little bit worse off than Paul is, as we all know, on this Richter scale. Thank God we're grading on the scale.
Right.
If someone like me and Paul were to come see you, what would you suggest as far as the retreat? Since I live in Texas, he lives 3.5 hours away. If he doesn't show up at your place in the next month, let me know, and I'm going to jump his butt after this. But what would you want to see?
Well, we start off with your blood work, and we do the telehealth type stuff. So before you even got here, you were already doing all the steps you could to heal as best as you can in our in our presence. So we'd go through the blood work, supplementation, maybe get you on some regenerative medicines to help reduce the inflammation before you got here. Basically get rid of the dumb inflammation so we can really focus on the key points that need it. And then when you did get here, it would be an all-out beautiful experience. My background is in hospitality management, so I'm Ritz-Carlton trained, and everything from the smells, the sounds, the experience is tailored from start to finish. So that's what we love to do, is be able to provide that hospitality value as much as possible. And myself and the team that I work with in so many different levels is just their toolboxes are totally filled, from breath work to yoga to even the plant medicine, obviously the high level science and biohacking backgrounds. And so pretty much if you were to come in and work with us, you would get that well-rounded experience that I guarantee you couldn't get anywhere else.
Well, my question is about how long would you want me to be there? A lot of people are going
to Colombia and Mexico to do all these things. You don't need to go there. You can come right to Florida and do it with us.
So my question is how long would you want me to come and visit you? I mean, I just had a bone scan and I am bright red, chronic inflammation. I've been tested for lupus and all of that, and it all came back negative. But my bone scan is bright red. I've been on the Millennium Protocol now for a year, and my hormones are starting to come up. My testosterone's starting to come up. Everything's starting to come up. They're moving me into some more of Mark supplements. But so after we got my inflammation caused, what would you like to see someone like me come in and do? A week, 2 weeks?
Well, a lot of people don't have that time freedom. And so it's the best that you can do. The more time we have with you, the more progression, the more repetition. But it's, I would say at least 5 days for someone like you. And then while you're here, you're educating yourself too. And this is something that with our institute, we're going to be able to have that integration program with you daily and be able to work with you, whether it's through the Zoom calls and, with us being consultants too. I've flown out to different places, gone and worked with people. I have a client that I'm going to be working with here soon where it's, we're helping them with their alcohol issues. And that's, sometimes it takes days and weeks to help rewire the subconscious. Even it takes 90 days for the body and blood and cells to regenerate new. So it could be up to, a couple days to 90 days where we're really putting in some effort and energy into helping this and just alleviate, like what we call almost in AA. We want to get rid of the almost like the mental and physical issues, and a lot of times that takes time.
So I it's quite a testimony. You're talking about, the addiction with alcohol. I've dealt with that, and fortunately, I got my miracle about 8 years ago. What would you say? So we end each episode in.
We got to have Trip back on because I want to dig deeper into the spiritual and what you call the woohoo movement. I'm more into the Maha movement, but
that's where you combine a quote of ours is we're combining the Eastern esoteric technology with the futuristic, almost like Nikola Tesla technology, the energy, frequency, vibration. And, we're getting into, eventually into the med bed talk. And that's where everything that we're doing is still separate. But in a handful of years with this Maha movement, we're going to be able to optimize them all into one strategic delivery. And we're going to watch people live longer than they ever have.
So you can teach some other modalities, not necessarily the oxygen modality, but you can teach a client or patient to bring some of this knowledge home and do it daily.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that would be our goal, is for them to complete the retreat. Like I said, most people can only get away from their job and family, say 3 to 7 days. And by the time they come home, they've already educated, everything's there waiting, and they're not skipping a step. They're up at 6 a.m., jumping in their cold plunge, getting over into the PEMF, using the oxygen. And by the time they're leaving to go to work, they are the most shining, bright, best version of themselves.
That's awesome.
You mentioned that cold plunge.
Yeah, you're killing us with a cold plunge.
I tell you, you put cold water on me, it just brings pain, instant pain. I mean, I just instantly get sore and painful, and it's
right.
And Nick
It's
keeps
that
saying
inflammation.
cold plunge.
All that cold's going right to that inflammation. I felt it that first couple times. I would get in and it would burn so bad. And there's obviously progressions. You don't have to do 33 degrees, right away. You can, start off at 50. Even a cold shower is good enough just to get that exhilarating rush. And then it's progression. But I'm telling you, you start combining all this stuff, and then you jump into a cold plunge, you do a sauna, back in the cold plunge, you'll never feel so alive and alive.
No, I used to do that. Jump from the pool to the.
Before I got on this podcast, just to make sure I had that energy and electricity after a big morning of work going on too. So that's how important it is.
That's great, Trip. This has been a fantastic episode. Like Corey said, we've got to have you back. There's so much more to talk about. And but we always end each episode with a word of hope to our listeners. Can you share a word of hope and inspiration?
So we're in the future now. It's 2025. I know I can't believe that we're already this far. Whether you're my age and you're in your mid 40s, you're 70 years old, or even in your 20s. This is different than it was 10 years ago. The knowledge, the education, and even the awareness is there. Things are different. There's some sort of awakening going on that I know we all feel. And I'm feeling it right now just saying it. And I know a lot of the viewers will feel it too. This is that time when we really put in the work and do what we're supposed to and quit disrespecting God and doing the right things that we're going to be rewarded. All these years, it just felt like we were running in place. We couldn't, get ahead. This is that time. Not only are we going to get ahead in our day-to-day, our jobs, our lives, but our health is going to improve daily. We're not going to see the agitation, our parents, our grandparents dying so early anymore. This will be the last time that we have to deal with this, and we're the generation that's going to break that curse that we've been dealing with for years. So that my inspiration to the world right now is don't give up. I know it seems hard. Sometimes it's weird with the social media and the stuff going on. It's for a purpose. It's to teach us, to wake us up, and to push us into the future of health and wellness and happiness and peace.
That's a great word. Thank you, Trip. Seriously, we look forward to having you back again sometime soon. And
Gonna do it, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trip. I always get shocked when I talk with you. I was shocked when I talked with him in Florida. I'm even more shocked now. And like I said, if Paul doesn't contact you in the next month, reach out to me. I got a long rope. I'll hit him upside the head. Because he's in Florida. He ain't got no excuse.
That's right. That's right. We'll see you soon. I look forward to shaking your hand. Thank you, Trip.
Later, guys.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Great.
Bye.
Man. Trip Harlan took us on a trip.
Yeah, yes, he did. How do we keep doing this? Every time we're saying that was a great episode.
You want to know why?
Talk to me.
Because we're educating ourselves. We're meeting the people that give us hope and awareness, and that is encircling us with people that share the inspiration and the involvement that we want to produce to others. That's why I say, people, you need to like, share, subscribe, comment, and be a part of the HeadRush Podcast. Let's get these algorithms going on so many different platforms, because it's people like this and the modalities that we teach that can help you. That RHI is not a death sentence. CTE is not a death sentence. It's something we got to deal with. It's like cancer. It's like, what do they call that? When you got a stone, kidney stone.
Right. So
that's painful. You got to deal with it. It's got to come out somewhere. It's going to hurt like hell, but when it comes out, you're going to feel better.
Yeah, it's what we try to do is bring people hope and inspiration, and that's what the HeadRush Podcast is all about. Because if we just chose to sit at home and wallow in our sorrows, and my executive function is lacking. Okay, well, what am I going to do about it? My addictive spirit, my addiction, which repeated head impacts can absolutely cause addictive personalities. Well, I drank too much beer for a long, long time. What am I going to do about it? I was able to stop. But these modalities, these treatments, these people that want to encourage and love on people like us and work with people like us to make us better versions of ourselves, I'm 60. Science is probably going to keep me alive for another 47 years, maybe. I don't know. But I want to... You're laughing. But
4 to 7 months?
47 years. 47. Not 4 to 7 years. 47. Maybe 40. You're going to be alive to 100.
No BS. If I'm alive at 75, my wife is going to kill me.
Hey, the average, when we were growing up, the average life expectancy was like 72, wasn't it? Or 68. You'd work until 65 and you'd die 3 years later.
I don't think a male in my family has lived that old.
Wow. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to be, there's always a first, young man.
That's right.
All right.
And it probably ain't going to be me.
We've gone over. Appreciate you all listening, sharing, subscribing.
Stay alert
and stay alive.
Have a great day.
This podcast is for general information only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard and delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.